Yes. Let me just make some notes for editing purposes later, if you don't mind.
While you do that, I'm going to flop my dog's ear while he somehow doesn't wake up. I don't know how this dog don't wake up. I can punch this dog in the face and smush his cheeks and
Don't
pat
do
his
that.
butt while he's
Don't do,
asleep. He
don't
just
do that.
don't smush his cheeks.
Don't punch him in the face.
Oh yeah, just give him a little punch. Punch, 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 punch. You don't even
Okay.
care.
Well, fine. You say that, but like
Punch.
I grew up with some crazy motherfuckers who were not very nice to their pets.
Yes, but Wooly, I'm a human.
Yes. They were not.
I would not actually punch my dog. I just pretend like this.
All right.
He loves it.
So, first order of business. Shall we bury the light?
Nope.
All right.
I'm not allowed.
Okay. So, with this, obviously, we have to talk about the announcement and what sucks. And I don't know which is overtaking you more so at the moment. But with the announcement of Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition comes some bum news for PC owners that are not being given a chance to get it on Special Edition on PC. That sucks, and there's no real good reason for it.
The reasons they're giving are just like outright lies. It's really funny. They're like, well, we're optimizing the version for the next gen consoles so it can't go on PC. And you're like, the PCs that have had ray tracing for like over a year.
Well, traditionally, I remember the thing was that, what was it? LDK mode, Legendary Dark Knight mode, aka
PC mode.
What I called it was hardware must die.
Yeah.
Is the mode that was available only on PC. So it seems like a weird decision to go against it in this way.
I mean, I can tell you what the decision is and why.
Yeah,
I was talking with Hitchhiker, and he has a variation of Legendary Dark Knight mode working right now.
Yeah,
he
we
put
saw
a
the
video
GIF
of
to prove
it
Mhm.
of a million monsters, and there's
Well,
a guy
for the-
working on a ray tracing mod right now.
Well,
and
for
Virgil's been playable for months.
Yes, so for the story, there is the special edition that's going to drop on PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series, and it will be coming out with what you just mentioned, ray tracing, with playable Virgil, with Legendary Dark Knight mode, and up to what they said was a couple of variable options for display, where you can go up to 120 FPS, or
go down to 30 for some reason.
Down to 30 with 4K, or 1080p 60.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go 1080p 60, 4K 30 FPS, or 120 FPS and whatever resolution accordingly. So that's one of the things as well. And then for those, this is the next gen version of the game, and for current gen, there will be Virgil DLC, so you can get a DLC pack to add Virgil playable, but the other features listed will not be coming to PS4 and Xbone and PC. But PC will also have the Virgil DLC. So, you can. It's you can take your guesses. I think it is reasonable to assume part of Capcom's like not putting special edition on PC at least right away is due to the heavy modding that we've been seeing. I think that like there's been two ways that Capcom have treated PC in the past. There's the stuff that's been simultaneous release, and there's the Monster Hunter Worlds. And this might be a Monster Hunter World situation, or one where they just don't even do it at all. But I think that the fact that PC modding in Devil May Cry 5 has brought out all these features and more crazy shit like what Hitchhiker's doing, PvP, like wild level of of new shit. I think part of that is possibly the reason why Capcom would look and go like, we don't like that happens with these games.
So that's not it at all.
Okay.
This did happen in the past. You bring up the alternative being Monster Hunter World, but the more specific one is the last Devil May Cry game, which would be DMC4 SE.
Mm-hmm.
No, DMC4 SE and
That's what I said.
Sorry, I misunderstood my own fucking sentence. And Definitive Edition for DMC.
Mm-hmm.
Definitive Edition for DMC never came to PC either. And that was a situation in which Definitive Edition DMC was based off PC mods. Like, people modded the original version to like ignore the red-blue stuff and all that crap and change some of the gameplay stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of that was included on the console version. Considering, I'm of the opinion that because Capcom is just directly lying about why PC's not getting the SE, you're free to make up your own reason, and it's just as valid. The reason is because this should be a free update, but they don't want to spend the time or money because they can't charge PC players again. Like the Virgil stuff, that should be probably paid, but there's no reason why the SE stuff wouldn't just be a free update, especially considering you can make some of it a free update right now if you want.
So when you said that's totally not it, it's this other thing, you replaced a made-up reason with a made-up reason. I'm not saying it's not a valid guess, but we're both just speculating here.
Well, when the person you're talking to sees fit to lie to you, you should assume ill intent.
Okay, but I'm just saying, I thought, because you said, no, that's not it, and then you came in, I thought you were going to say something that was...
Well, because the way you were phrasing it pointed as like, well, PC players, if you hadn't modded it, then you would have gotten it.
That's not... Okay, I'm not saying they shouldn't have done them. Like, obviously modding is going to happen. If your take from what I said was, hey, PC modders, it's your fault, that's completely not what I meant. What I was saying was, it might be Capcom being salty about those mods, which is very different from they shouldn't have done that.
If they're salty about them, I would say it's because those mods...
I'm not agreeing with that potential salt. I'm just saying that they might have been salty about that. I disagree with that as a good reason to not do anything on PC, though.
Yes, but what I'm saying is
Okay.
that salt is not over the mods, it's over the fact that tricking PC players into buying the game a second time would be harder because of them.
They would have
Like
free alternatives if someone decided to, let's say, mod in special edition to the original game as a mod, and they just
like
throw it all in there.
The
Yeah.
weirdest one is turbo mode, because turbo mode is like a single line in a notepad file that was in there from the beginning.
It would happen. It would totally happen. There would be a mod so that they would just grab stuff. I mean, there's already you can cosplay the characters in whatever, in different costumes and shit like that. There would absolutely be a mod that just makes special edition a thing that is on the original. Yeah, that is a likely scenario.
Honestly, I have to say that let's ignore the PC and all the mod stuff to a degree. Virgil coming officially and his track is amazing. That's really cool. This is a really shitty special edition compared to the other two.
So the thought process that made sense, I saw someone make a post, and again, we're all guessing, right? We're all just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks here. But someone made a tweet that was basically describing that so far from what you look at, it seems like outside of like the lighting changes and such, what you're getting asset wise is pretty much the same, right? What you're seeing with Virgil is all pre-existing assets. He's not switching to Beowulf or to Force Edge. We're seeing the exact moveset that you fought him with. And even when he stabs himself, obviously that's from the cutscene. So the idea is then like we're getting a special edition that's made from what already exists, as opposed to previous special editions where they added playable Trishan Lady, where they added extra campaigns for them, and they added like Virgil, and they added all this extra stuff,
So the Virgil thing, the really crazy one is like, the big move that he shows in the trailer where he stabs himself and then V comes out and V
screen clear
floats and does a screen clear with all the summons going nuts.
Yeah.
That move is in DMC5.
Yes.
Original.
It is an unlockable move that you can find in the code that V does, where he floats off and says something like, "I'm done with this," or whatever, and he's floating in the air and the whole screen just gets nuked.
Yeah, and like the current version looks really busted because
there's no effects on it.
Demons don't do anything, but it's like this feels really, really lackluster. Like they took a character with all his moves, and like there's no reason we couldn't have gotten a Virgil DLC like a month after the game came out.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is I'm not going to jump to that conclusion just yet, because there's a very possible there's a possibility that oh shit, whoops, sorry, dropping things on myself over here by leaning. There's a possibility that there's content that we haven't seen that will be in the game that we haven't seen in the trailer, right?
I don't think that is true. They would have told us about that.
It's possible, but it is more. It's more. Of course, it's most likely that anything that you see is what they're going to advertise. But in terms of like what the full, for example, what I said was like Beowulf and Force Edge not being there is something where I'd like to see what the full kit looks like, if there's anything else on that move list to, I guess, make up for that, or if it just ends up being the doppelganger. But yeah, if it is exactly what we saw, and that's what there is to it, then it's definitely less new shit than any other special edition that they've put out in the past, for sure. If there's more that we haven't seen, then we'll have to wait for that. I'm hoping there is. I'm optimistic that there is, but I don't know.
I really wish that this announcement could have been like a happy one.
I'm still very thrilled with the fucking the amazingness of that theme and the coolness of like finally getting a fucking playable Virgil. I'm happy to know that like the thought that, hey, where's 5 special edition plus Virgil is was something that, well, there was reason to believe before this announcement that was a plausible rumor. And I think like part of that is also why the drop of the trailer happening was a bit less of a big old pop-off, where people were looking for the Woolie handstands and screams and mic peaks, when I was kind of like internally just like, there it is, yeah. But it does.
I've been waiting for that trailer to drop for like a year, and when it did, I'm like, that's it. And not even for me.
I hope there's more.
I don't know what they have been doing.
I hope there's more, but it really is. It is definitely a bummer that you have a really positive piece of news go hand in hand with like, I guess, exclusivity politics. Where just some people that own the game get some things and other people don't, or some people that are like on one platform, all that stuff. Whenever that happens, you don't want to be you don't want to be this late in the game still kind of going like PC is an afterthought. And in some games cases, Capcom seems to think and support it that way. Some games get fine PC treatment, other things don't, and you don't really get a clear reason.
One of the reasons why I'm so tilted about this was that I got a review code for DMC5, right, way back on PC. And I went, you know what? So I didn't buy DMC5 on the PC, right? But I still want to support Capcom for putting it out on the PC. So I bought copies of it for my friends, which I guess means I'm stupid because they didn't want that game to sell on PC. Because PC customers aren't good enough for their games.
The copies you bought were PC copies.
Of course they were.
Well, I mean, it depends on what your friends would have, no? What?
Anyway, Woolie, I got the code on PC. Why would I buy my friends PS4 copies to show Capcom that I supported it on PC?
Rewind. Let me explain what just happened. You said you got the code. Therefore, you still wanted to support it, so you bought copies for your friends.
Yes, so why would I buy it?
The step of buying copies for your friends, to me, could be, hey, what do you own? Okay, what do you want it on?
No, stop.
Okay.
Woolie, I said I got the code for PC, so since I didn't buy it on PC, and I wanted to show Capcom that I supported it on PC, I bought copies for my friends.
Okay.
So why would I have bought PS4 copies for my friends to support it on PC?
I thought what you said was you bought copies for your friends after you already got your code, and you didn't say. And I thought you were just saying you would have got it on whatever they had, or I assumed that was unstated. All right.
Anyway, point is, everyone involved in this is a liar, and I will probably be adding Matt Walker until he says something more specific than we're specializing it, we're optimizing it for next gen consoles, which is a lie. Like, it's a de facto lie because that is not a thing that makes sense and is true.
Yeah, the part where there is a Virgil DLC that exists for current owners is like, it is a way to, if they did not have that, then I think you would have heard a much more negative backlash in terms of just like people getting shafted for being current owners that don't want to buy a second copy. And for the people who looked at it and went, I don't want to buy a second copy. That's too much for me. I find that an extremely reasonable take. I think that much like Persona 5 Royal, when you are someone who, like, if you feel like I don't want to buy a second version of the game with some slight changes or whatever the case may be, that is very, very fair. So I don't think anyone should feel like they have to get a second copy if they don't want to. But offering the Virgil DLC is almost like hey, let's kind of smooth the situation over a little bit by giving you something. But yeah, it should definitely have been a like upgrade to the version, a la any other fighting game, where you get a full-on, like, here it is, it's a big content dump, you just drop it on top of your original game and you get the new shit for existing owners. Or if you want to get a next-gen version of it, here's that version as well, I think that,
I don't understand why, like, the weirdest thing,
people would have universally been hype and positive about the whole story from front to back if everyone that currently owns it could have bought an upgrade for it, and if anyone that wanted it next gen would have had the option to do so as well. it's one of those decisions where I think they'll end up seeing like a lot of people that are going to get their next gen stuff early will be grabbing a copy. But like a whole lot of people that I guess could have gone either way will just be like, I'll just wait. You know, I already got it before. I'll be fine to wait. And you kind of lose out on some kind of like you could have forced the situation. You could have forced the hand a little bit. By you're forcing the hand rather by limiting what they can get. But yeah, it would have been a universally positive announcement if they said available for all platforms, upgrade pack, or fresh. You know,
I don't understand why they don't just put it to PC and charge like $20 for it, like an expansion, instead of like having to rebuy the thing entirely or nothing at all. Like that's weird.
We've seen large expansions for other games. You know, we know that it's a absolutely viable thing. I understand
like,
the timing of a
Iceborne,
new generation.
Right?
Like I think so. To answer what you mentioned earlier about this could have come out a couple months later. I think the gen update is partly responsible for the push. I think the whole like let's wait for it to launch is okay. You know,
well, yeah, so they can sell full copies instead of expansions,
and not just that, but we also are very familiar at this point that anything that releases on launch window of a console gets super duper inflated in its sales because people are buying for the sake of buying anything on their new machine.
Yeah.
Red Steel is only a thing because it came in as the sword game that was out at launch on your fucking Wii. It's a huge benefit to be out in that window. So the decision to take what they could have put out sooner and delay it to this window is also to get those extra sales.
It's just so frustrating to be like, if Capcom came out and said we just don't want to put it out on PC, that would be one thing. But the lie is what is really tilting me. Like, well, we're optimizing it for next gen and you know, ray tracing.
I mean,
and it's
to me, the actions say we just don't want to put it out on PC. Like that, the actions say that. You know?
Yeah, but lying is an action. You could have just said nothing forever, right? The part where it's like we're optimizing it for next gen ray tracing, the day that 3080s sold out, like that was the day and date of that quote, which is like the ray tracing video card of the future or whatever. Like, it's so absurd.
So what's worth mentioning that we haven't talked about is the part where the very high level fucking skill scene, the crazy scene of character action game people are looking at this too, going like, no inertia. And there was a mod that put inertia back in on PC as well. And all this,
those people should be really tilted because now Hitchhiker has to spend his time recreating LDK mode instead of working on Strive.
Well, something that's really clear, right? Well, like I said, like when you have a special edition coming out with the way the content was in previous versions, although remember how late 4 SE came out compared to 4, right?
I don't even think late is the right term. That was like
a decade,
dead in the ground by the time it came out.
A decade later, 4 special edition dropped, right? So keep in mind, this is really, really, really close to the launch of the original by comparison. So all that new shit was whatever made in the whenever they decided to resurrect the franchise. But I think what you're going to see is a PC mod that more or less attempts to recreate whatever comes out anyway. I think you're going to see the almost like the Spite special edition for PC that the community is gonna probably build themselves just to see like, hey, look, it's doable and here it is. And especially if you consider that this special edition, if it is only existing assets, then that means there's nothing the modders won't be able to do.
It's the ray tracing thing is more technical, obviously.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. The lighting pass change the different. Yes, that is a bigger deal. But you will get the Virgil mode. You'll probably be able to get. You'll get that attack in there if they see that's what's going on. Like they've already put newer attacks in the game too, as well, and new abilities in terms of just like combat. And yeah, nothing. We don't know what's going to be there, but like if Dante ends up not having any new weapons, for example, or something like that,
he won't have any new weapons.
Yeah, so then there's nothing the modders won't be able to do because they already have the same pieces that this special edition is made out of. You know,
it's really bizarre. Like everything about DMC5's development is weird because you look at like Bloody Palace, which came out later, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was probably supposed to be in there at launch,
probably,
but the timing
it usually is
out, right.
Yeah.
So it's this situation of like and a lot of the pieces of this SE were totally in the game the day that came out. So it's just this weird
the concentration meter as well.
Like the $40 version of this game is a fucking ripoff. Like that's the second part. Like there's the part where I'm like pissy that it's not coming to the PC. But like if I was a person who just had the console version, like dude, that is a ripoff. Especially since some companies are allowing you to just, upgrade your version to the next gen version for free. Like of this shit should be free.
You mean as of the existence of this announcement?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a nasty fucking game when you don't play nice with the consumers that, just spent money on your stuff. Because of all the groups of people you're pissing off, in this case, it's people that literally like and supported your shit. So you really, really, really should be nice to those people because they're the ones that will stick around if you do it well. It's just an obvious thing that you're burning goodwill whenever you decide to take the cash-in route. And that's, yeah. It mars the otherwise what would have been universally positive of an announcement. I still want to give a huge shout out to Casey Edwards and Bury the Light for being such a fucking incredible banger of a theme, and the fact that people are digging into it and finding references to multiple pieces and things about Virgil over the years, because he's had those boss themes, but he's never had a theme, like not a vocal theme. So now that this is the first time it's ever happened, you're getting references to the line that Arkham says, "A storm is approaching. I am the storm that is approaching." You're getting references to the instrumental parts of Virgil 2 coming back in leitmotif form. You're getting Devil Trigger's bridge later on in instrumental form, and you're getting the lyrical opposite where "Embrace the darkness that's within me" is mirrored by "Bury the light within me." So like in terms of just paying attention to the source material and trying to get something super appropriate for a theme, this song's existence could not stomp Subhuman any deeper into the ground.
Oh man, I forgot. I fucking forgot about Subhuman.
It's so
Jesus
crazy.
Christ.
It's so crazy how good this is and how far it stomps Subhuman into the ground. It is wild. I'm I'm like, you know, overall just like hyper impressed by the attention to detail. And Casey tweeted out to say that like, hey, someone found a reference. There's many more. So the idea that, you know, there's a lot to dig that is referential to everything from the past is a fun thing, and I hope we can find them. Bury the light. Makes sense. It's what he's trying to do. It's, you know, and I like as well that the version we got is the 10-minute, like full, you know, the full version of it where you get to hear what it's going to be like on every style meter until you get to the S rank.
That version of the track's weird because the I don't know what the intro, like the lead up, is like a minute and a half long. It's crazy long.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought it was fucking busted. I thought I had found the wrong version for a second.
And before you, like, if for a second you start thinking that you're gonna take this too seriously, they start screaming, "My family crest is a demon of death" at the fucking chorus, and you're like, "Oh, this is so dumb," and it's perfect.
It's so stupid.
It's perfect levels.
And
of
you're
dumb.
like, "Oh, this is," because now that we know that Virgil's just a dumb poetry nerd, yeah.
You're saying?
Oh, that was it. That was the whole thing.
Now that we know that he's a dumb poetry nerd.
You're a dumb poetry nerd. They're like, yeah. And then you finished it. It can't just be cool.
And I also like, if this is what he thinks of himself in his head, you know what I mean? Like, this is what's going through his mind. You're like, oh, you fucking dork.
He's a dweeb.
Yeah. Very.
But just because we did. So
point.
Ideally, this in my head, it's like, so we got to hang out with Dante 99% of the time, so we got to see all the stupid things that he was doing by himself to show he's cool. So we didn't see in DMC3 Virgil doing a bunch of like edgelord slashes on like a rock, and then practicing his sword sheath, and saying all sorts of weeb ass shit.
Well, he gets to feel good about practicing those things though, because it's what Father would have wanted.
Oh. Are we at the point where we're like, you never want to see Sparta talk ever, or do you still want to like get a look at it?
I have faith that, like, story wise, when he does talk, it would be. I feel like Itsuno could do it properly to make it feel like as appropriate and possibly as hammy as we would hope it would be. Like, I feel like prior to 5 existing, I would have been possibly worried about it being ruined. But at this point, it's like, nah, fuck it. Just pull the trigger on that. Let's see how it go.
We actually got to see Ava last time. Like,
talking to you,
for a second before a roof got her.
So I feel as if what I always have to judge it on is like, hey, there's a thing that hasn't been touched yet in this timeline, and the further we go without touching that, the more I'm like worried that, you know, it might not be done well. But if you show me that, like, that the step before this, you know what you're doing, then I'm like, yeah, you've got this. You're fine, you know. It's when you see the boss goes down the way it does in Snake Eater, and then you're like, please don't touch this character ever again. And then Peace Walker comes along, and you're like, fucking hell, you know. Like, it's definitely a just, you have to judge whether you want more information based on how much your faith is planted in the current incarnation of what's happening. And 5 to me did enough and kept the story like fun and dumb. So I think if they approached Sparta and made it fun and dumb, it'd be fine.
Or just give us a Sparta game. Just say fuck it. and just give us that first like 0.
All right, because context is important. Whatever Peace Walker the game aside, I'm talking about the robot with the boss in it. The robot with the boss in it. It's dumb.
It's fucking stupid. It's
Never mind the game. If you enjoyed the game, that's fine.
Game's fine, but that
talking
robot
about
is stupid as shit.
The robot with the boss in it. All right, thank you. We're moving on.
I'm just like now my current hope for DMC5 SE, and hopefully no one at Capcom is paying attention to me. But when SE comes out, people are able to, because people rip console games, it's just a little tougher, and find the parts where they totally cut Ladies Night DLC from this, and that shit is just canceled.
Is that the course of events?
What do you mean?
You said Ladies Night was cut?
Yeah.
Okay. An existing thing was removed.
Yes.
Okay. That sucks.
Oh, no. Now I understand what you mean. No, it wasn't supposed to be part of the SE. It was supposed to come out afterwards, before the SE.
Mm.
And then it got canceled, and I thought it was going to get rolled into the SE, and guess not.